Hey guys, welcome to your channel. We are going to discuss a very relevant topic which is very much debated at the present scenario. It is nothing but model code of conduct. This is a very important question which poses importance for your any upcoming mains exam as well as interview question. The question is that whether model code of conduct is successful as a moral force only. Yeah, is there any necessity to make this model code of conduct into some kind of legal force? We all know that model code of conduct at present scenario are some kind of voluntary rules issued by election commission to be observed by the political parties during election or during campaign on a voluntary basis. They lack a kind of legal obligations. They are not law. These are some voluntary obligations. So question is, at the present situation we have seen that election commission is sometimes flexible. Yeah, it is debated that, yeah, it is told that sometimes election commission plays discriminatory role, right? On that case, the question is whether it should be turned into a law or whether it should be left as of now. So it has both advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is much. The very surprising fact is that though it is a moral obligations, but since 1960 it has been played, yeah, it has been observed very successfully, and its role is very prominent in implementation of a successful election, in conducting successful election. So what are the advantages of moral code of conduct as a moral force only? There is speedy and time-bound impact. That means what? That when any political party violates rule, election commission can promptly take action against them. If it has been dragged into a court, if it becomes a law, and it has to be settled by court, and we all know that it is a very lengthy process. And here also political parties might take advantage. Right, and people will also get baffled that who is guilty or who is not. So at the present scenario, it has a very time-bound impacts, because under this, as a moral force, election commission can take a prompt action under these guidelines to any political parties who have violated the rules. See, point to enforces the real role of election commission under Article 324 of the Indian Constitution. In India, Election Commission is vested with conducting elections and superintendence of election under Article 324. And under this, Election Commission has issues a moral code of conduct. But moral code of conduct is somehow a kind of backbone for Election Commission. Means it is the spirit of Election Commission. If Election Commission loses the moral code of conduct, then where the role of the Election Commission will be left? What will be the role of election commission? Right, we are observing the image of the election commission, that how it has taken action against the parties who have violated the moral code of conduct. If this very role has been snatched away by snatched away from the election commission, then election commission will somehow up to so many extent will lose the decision making power regarding this. Quick image of political parties. The moral code of conduct is very helpful in building the image of a political party, because people can instantly determine, yeah, instantly choose that who is very respectful to the moral obligations. It is very demanding factor that who, despite being a moral force, then how political parties are observing them. It creates an image in the view of the public, election commission, yeah, whole political system, yeah, in the country. So people get a chance to choose somehow that who is much more respectful and obedient to the electoral rules. Transparency means everything is written in a very clear way. There is no legal complexity. There is no legal entanglement. What should be done, what not to be done, what not to be violated. Everything is clear. In accordance with the Representative of People Act 1951, in many cases, the aim of Representative of People Act and a model code of conduct is the same, because the aim of both are to conduct transparent election, to prevent any dishonest way to influence the voters. So these are some advantages of a moral code of conduct as a moral force. If this model code of conduct turned into law, then it will lose these advantages up to somehow. Then see some concerns that model code of conduct is a moral force. Then what are some concerns? Conscience is the lack of legal force. Ruling parties might get a glimpse. That means what? We all know that until and unless there are some kind of legal obligations, the political party, especially the ruling party, might take it a very easy way, right? Because they think that they will election commission will impose ban for 1 or 2 days and they will somehow manage it because they can misuse their power, they can influence the voters. Because of the lack of the legal obligation, somehow a kind of moral deterrent is absent to the political parties. Sometimes they take it a flexible way. Cogeness between government and election commission. This is a very important ethical question in front of public view. Election commission is mainly appointed by the ruling government party. So despite election commission has played its role very successfully, despite its strenuous effort to make electoral process transparent as much as possible, sometimes people question that election commission is appointed by the ruling government, that should they somehow compromise during the election time for ruling parties. Empowerment mechanism means what happened. It is moral code of conduct or moral guidelines. It is now observed by election commission, but there is a lack of any particular judicial authority to observe to implement it strictly, right? So it also somehow what happened makes creates a flexible viewpoint in front of the political leaders. Right, then what is the solution? Solution we can derive from these concerns as well, right? What are the concerns we have seen that we can derive the solutions from itself. In case of solution, your opinion is different from my opinion. But in answer, when we give solution, we should not be one-sided. One-sided means what? If I'm in, if I'm going to write the answer and if I'm going to write solution, then I will write that the though moral code of conduct is lacking its legal obligations, but it has been its role is very crucial as a moral force, and the moral force is the impetus of the whole electoral system. It has provided a prominent role to judge the political parties in front of the public view, and each force is very heavy. The moral force that is inherent in moral code of conduct is very much forceful, and election commission has also is also very successful in implementing moral code of conduct. There is a very great role of moral code of conduct to the transparent election since time immemorial, right? But still I will not be one-sided. I will say one line, but in front of the recent scenario where some discrimination is seen, where some debate is going on that election commission is being flexible, being discriminatory on some cases, it cannot be totally denied that some kind of legal obligations are necessary. In this way, you have to be both sided in your answer. But the one and only solution, acceptable solution, is that solution is in itself. Itself means election commission itself is the solution. How? Because the constitution has handed over a kind of independent role to the election commission. It is a constitutional body. So being a constitutional body, the only solution is that it can play a independent role and it can play a impartial role. It can take very stringent punishment to all political parties regardless of ruling or opposition, whoever breaks the moral code of conduct. This is the only and one solution, right? This is my opinion. I have tried to give you some my viewpoints, but you are free to create your own viewpoints. But this is a very important topic for mains exam, interview. So do not skip this topic.